Hello, 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 everybody. My name is Valerie Harris, and this is your Stepping Up and Stepping Out series that airs every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. And like I tell you every week, and those of you that'll be new viewers that come to see this channel, this series has been designed just for you to inspire you, to encourage you, and to empower its listeners to, guess what, step up and step out of your comfort zone. And as an author and life purpose empowerment coach and leadership consultant, I help women in leadership and entrepreneurs build a business that will create financial freedom, a healthy lifestyle, and leave a legacy. And guess what, guys? Tonight we have a guest, and our guest's name is Lina Lassiter. I just want to tell you a little bit about Lina. Lina is a speaker, a grief, forgiveness, and wellness coach who is passionate about assisting those grieving with overcoming their pain. And she's also the director at Genworth Financial. She has a degree in business management with a concentration in leadership, a master's degree in human resources services counseling with a concentration in PTSD, trauma, and grief. And Lina is the founder and president of Forever Healed, which is a 501c3 nonprofit whose vision is to continually help people recover from the impact of death, divorce, and other losses, and to go help them bridge the gap between the feelings of despair and healing. Wow, that is most interesting. And I will bring to the stage with us right now Lina Lassiter. Hello, Lina.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so glad that you decided to come on the show tonight so that we can talk about, the areas that you have expertise. Yes, yes, with grief and despair and losses and forgiveness, because we have a lot of people going through right now with all of those various areas. And, they need to know where to go, what resources they have that's available to them so that they can get the necessary help. So let's jump right on into the questions for tonight. So, Lina, as a grief, forgiveness, and wellness coach, let's talk about what grief is and what it's not.
Yes, let's just jump right in, Valerie. Thank you so much again for having me, and congratulations on your show.
Yes, let's just jump right in, Valerie. Thank you so much.
What number is this?
Me, and congratulations on your show. So, which number is this for my show? This is show number 50. Let's just jump right in, Valerie. Thank you so much. What number is this? Me, and congratulations on.
Congratulations. All right. So, what is grief? So, Valerie, grief is just the normal reaction to a loss, right? Or change of any kind, right? Of itself, it's not pathological. It's not a personality disorder. So that's one definition of grief. Mm-hmm. My favorite definition of grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern or behavior. And the reason that I like that definition is because it encompasses all loss that we may endure. Because when we think about grief, or you hear the term grief, for those of you who are watching, if you don't mind just putting it in the chat, let's talk to us. When you hear the term grief, what do you normally think about? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Because typically what happens, Val, when we think about the term grief, we think about a death.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we don't think about the fact that there are over hundreds of losses. Sadness, death. Yeah. You immediately think about sadness. You immediately think about death. But there are over 100 losses that can trigger the emotions of grief.
Wow. That's something.
Over 100.
Give us a few minutes. We're just having a couple of difficulties. I think your mic is back on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me. I can't hear you.
Okay.
All right. Huh. You still can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
I can see your mouth moving.
But you can't hear me. Wow.
Let me see.
Which number is this?
Let me see if I can get you back on the, if I can hear you through my phone, maybe.
For my show, this is show number 50. Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Your mouth moving.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
We can try to do it this way because I can try to hear you from the phone.
Okay, that sounds.
You know
good.
what?
And the viewer says that they can hear both.
I wonder.
Yeah. Thank you for letting us know.
If we did this.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, it's weird how I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Because I was hearing you fine at first.
Do you want me to answer that? Because you calling my number, so you want me to answer that? Okay.
Okay, can you, all right, mute your mic on your computer.
Now. Okay. Now can you hear me?
Still can't hear you. No.
Now? You can't?
No.
Because my mic is up and working, so I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'm going to leave the studio. You want me to leave the studio and try to come back in?
That'll be good.
Okay.
Try that.
All right.
That'll work. That'll work. Give us a few minutes. We'll be right back, guys. So just give us a few minutes and we will come right All right. Hopefully we have squared away all of our technical difficulties. But guys, you know how it is. This is a computer and it might act up anytime. So just be patient with us because we have some juicy nuggets to share with you tonight. You hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Amen. Amen. Amen.
All right. Where were we? You want to start all over? What you want to do, Val?
Listen, we can keep on going because you were telling them the difference between what grief is and what grief is not.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of times when people talk about grief, they automatically think that someone has died.
Right.
And that's not always the case.
Right.
There series. Go ahead and talk. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So there are over 100 losses, Val, that we can endure that can trigger the emotions of grief. That's why I like the definition of grief being the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern or behavior. Mm-hmm. What I also love is that grief is not a problem to be solved. It's a process to be lived.
A process, yes. And I agree with that 100% because like you said, it's so many of different examples of it. Give us just a few. Not, of course, you're not going to give all of them, but just give a few examples so people can recognize that it's not always about death, and they're grieving and don't even realize why they're grieving sometimes.
Right. So sometimes what you could be so some things that we can go through, some losses that we can go through, a divorce, separation. Sometimes it's a physical illness in your body, right? To where you can't dress or you can't bathe, you can't perform your daily activities, Val, that you used to. Believe it or not, it could even be retirement.
Yes.
Because you have been so accustomed to getting up every morning, driving the same way to work, right? And that could trigger emotions of grief, believe it or not. One of my favorites, though, that people don't think about is the loss of expectations in a relationship. So again, it can be a sibling relationship to where you guys aren't as close as you feel you should be. Perhaps it's you and a parent, who didn't have a healthy relationship, and you felt that parent should nurture you, right, and protect you. But what if that wasn't your story? That can trigger emotions of grief as well.
And so what you're saying as well is a lot of times people are in a grieving mode and don't even realize that's what's going on in their life.
Right.
Because like you mentioned, the retirement piece, if we don't keep ourselves busy or doing something of our passion or still walking in our purpose, maybe at a different stage in our life, we will fall back into that grieving mode. So it's very important, for people that have retired or going to retire to remain active, because it doesn't mean because you retired that you just stay at home.
Right. Absolutely. And, and you said something, right? So people are grieving and don't realize that they're grieving. And it's because grief is the most misunderstood growth process that we can go through. And it's because we were taught, Val, at a very young age, that we should negate painful and hurtful feelings at all costs. And if you don't mind, I would like to share, because people know I'm the book bag lady when I come and talk about grief. So
do it.
Okay. So I want to give them a visual of what I'm speaking about right now, right? So a lot of times as children, we're taught, don't talk about painful feelings, don't talk about how you feel, don't talk about being hurt. So we're going to pretend, Val, that this is our little backpack of life. You guys see this?
Okay.
So, and I also have some weights here. So these are just 2-pound weights.
Okay.
So this is not very heavy, this one particular weight. But as we go through this exercise, it gives you a visual of how we got here, Val. So as a kid, think about it, whether you have done this with your children or perhaps your parents have done this with you. And listen, for those of you who are watching, no judgment here, okay?
No judgment, guys. Listen.
All of us have said some of these things, perhaps, right? Because we didn't know any better. So think about it. You're a kid, you fall down off your bike, you fall down running, you skin your little knee. Your parents will kiss your boo-boo, right? Nobody asked you how you felt. And then we go in the kitchen and we bake cookies, or they give us a lollipop so we'll stop crying, or we bake a cake. Now we have learned to eat instead of dealing with our pain, right?
Listen.
You lose a pet, and what we do, or what our parents may have done, is they will buy you another pet, right? But nobody asked you how you felt, Val.
That's right.
And then you take that second weight. Well, now it's getting heavy.
Yes.
Right? We have all had a heartbreak, and we tell people, oh, well, there's more fish in the sea. Pretty much, it's their loss. And guess what? It might have been.
But it's still your loss.
But you still hurting. It's still your loss, right? Yes. And nobody's asking us how we how we feel. Well, now, Val, this thing is just getting extremely
Heavy.
heavy, right? So now I learned how to eat. I've learned how to replace. And now I've learned how to replace people with people. Because, see, there's more fish in the sea.
Right.
And then we wonder why we end up with the same dude or woman, but they just have a different name.
Wow.
Because we haven't done our inner healing, right? Because we're eating, we're replacing. Think about everything else that transpired, right? You might have got bullied in school or had a hard time in school. Maybe you were, your parents were in the army and you relocated a lot. So you have all of that loss. And then let's fast forward it, Val, so we can end this visual. You know, someone does.
I love it because people see the visual of how the weight has gotten bigger and bigger, heavier and heavier, because you have never dealt with it.
Right. It's heavy now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super heavy, right? So we fast forwarded to when someone does pass away and your job gives you bereavement time, and it's typically 3 to 5 days. Guess what? Now we learn to get over it.
Yeah.
So I've learned to eat. I've learned to replace with people. And now I'm being told to get over it. And now somebody step on my, and I completely lose it. And do with them stepping on my toe, but everything to do with these unresolved emotions and grief that I've been carrying around all these
years. Yes. And just think about the many people that's affecting right now in this nation.
Yes.
While we're having such explosions of all the turmoil and all the hate and all the bad things that people are just doing to people and they haven't done anything to them. It's from that.
Right.
That thing. Never
it's
dealt
that
with
unresolved. Yeah, that hurt that we carry around, you know, and we do say that hurt people, and guess what? That's the truth.
That's true.
It's true, right? And then for some of us, Val, who had traumatic childhoods, you know, so if you were abused, right, or you were in a household where maybe a mother or father was being abused, and we're told what goes on in this house
stays in this house.
But guess what, Val? It doesn't, because we take it out with us. It follows us out. It follows us out the door, and we carry it around in that little life backpack.
Yes.
So to your point, and then we're out here, we're angry.
Yes. And we're taking it out on everybody else.
Not understanding that it's just these unresolved, you know, emotions that we have just suppressed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's something. So how did you start your journey of helping those who had experienced this type of trauma and grief and the PTSD? Because that's very popular, that PTSD, not only for military, but just for people in general.
Right. So anyone who has sustained a traumatic event can experience PTSD. So you're absolutely right. Thanks for bringing that up. You know, even the spouses of those in the military so your spouse may have had PTSD. Well, guess what? Sometimes the spouses will have it too as a result of that soldier, you know, coming home with PTSD.
Yeah.
So my journey, Val, you know, my mother had me at a very young age. So she was pretty much a kid, you know, having a kid. And as a result, I endured physical abuse, mental abuse, and verbal abuse. So just grew up with very low self-esteem. And then what you typically do is this is your norm, right? This is what I saw as just normal behavior. So you continue the cycle. So then I ended up in my first marriage, in an abusive marriage, because I didn't feel like I deserved better. Mm-hmm. You know, so once I gave my life over to Christ and became a believer and started to do just starting to heal, right? Because I would say things like, well, what's wrong with him? You know, because I'm a good wife, I do this, and this. And I never forget God saying to me, what's wrong with you?
Wow.
This is the best for you. This is not my best for you, right? So then what happened in 2007, my uncle, we were 6 months apart. He was murdered, and it was a senseless murder over a female. I also used to have custody of a niece, and she was awarded back to her mom, and rightfully so. But again, it was still a loss to me.
Mm-hmm.
That same year, Val, I lost my job.
Wow.
So I endured so many losses. I had lost 17 pounds. I kept adding a hole in my belt. So my journey was, I ended up going to a church in Ohio. It's called the Word Church. And in order to serve in any capacity, you had to go through this grief recovery class.
Wow.
Let me tell you how your friend Lina Lassiter acted when she went to this class.
How did you act?
This is what's scary about it. I thought I was okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we normally.
Because like most people, we put on our mask,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we say everything is fine. And I always say, be careful when people say fine, because those are feelings inside never expressed, right? You probably heard that before, but be careful. We put on our mask and we say everything is fine. So I'm in this class, and it's like 18, 20 people. It's like a big circle of, females and males.
Right.
And I'm just there because I want to serve in the prison ministry.
Okay.
Right? And everybody is sharing their stories of why they are there. And I'm sitting there saying, these people are messed up. I'm good. I'm just here because I want to join the prison ministry.
Okay.
I remember the facilitator pretty much kind of laughing at me like, yeah, right. But let me tell you, I cried more than the rest of them did during that 8 weeks. God tore me down, but he built me back up.
Amen.
And I just kept thinking, people need this.
Yes.
People need to understand that they are grieving. There are so many of us walking around wounded.
Yes.
And how many souls are we killing because we are wounded? So I remember them telling me that you should get certified to do this class. And I was like, I don't think it's time. But the Lord brought back to my remembrance that when I was about 20 something years old, someone had prophesied over me and said that God is going to use you to help those who are hurting. Yeah. And I dismissed it. I was like, well, he need to heal me first because he don't understand. Like, I don't think he realized this is a broken vessel right here.
But God was preparing you through your hurt.
Yeah.
Every situation that you went through,
yes,
was preparing you for this time because of the people that you were in need of, that needed your services and needed what you had inside of you to get them through. Because how can I really help someone if I haven't been through it?
Right.
That's why I named this show Stepping Up and Stepping Out, because I had to realize in my life I needed to step up and step out.
Come on.
And I had to stop letting the rejections that I had felt, the failures that I had felt, and feeling like I wasn't worth enough to be who I knew I should be.
Right.
So our experiences are the best teacher, and that's what helps us to be the yielded vessel to serve in the body of Christ, to help those that are going through, because God will send those same people from the experiences that you've had to be able to help them.
Right.
And then he gets the glory.
And then you realize that it's greater than you.
It's greater than us.
Yeah.
It's bigger than us.
It's bigger than us.
Because we serve a great big God.
Yeah.
Who's infinite.
Yes.
Everlasting.
Yeah.
And so when we're out there doing what we do, it's so that he will get the glory. Somebody else is going to be blessed by it. Somebody's going to be healed by it. Somebody's going to get delivered by it. And you get to share Jesus with them as well.
Come on. Come on.
Listen. That's why that microphone kept acting up, because it didn't want us to talk about this tonight. We're going to talk it through.
Right.
How about
Right. But we pushed through. So after that class, I was like, okay, I know I need to do this, but I still need to hear from God. So at the right time, he said, it's time. I want you to start a nonprofit. He gave us the name Forever Healed. Wow. So you just walk in your healing, forever. And I was like, okay. So I did that. And then a few years ago, I actually went back to school to get my master's, in human services counseling with the concentration in the PTSD trauma. Because a lot of times we think that we are depressed, and sometimes it's grief. Sometimes it is depression,
Yeah.
you know, but a lot of times it's because of the unresolved grief that we have. It kind of morphs into, depression or something more traumatic, mentally.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I mean, that's good to know. So dealing with that and trying to lead them through the forgiveness process, is that very difficult? I know it takes a lot to do that, because a lot of resolve has to happen with that forgiveness, because they have to a lot of times forgive themselves for even feeling the way they feel,
Yeah.
forgiving the person that has made them feel the way they feel. So it's a twofold process when you're talking about that forgiveness thing.
Yeah, I'm glad that you went here, because I'm going to stay with how I started with my mother,
Yeah.
right? Because I had to forgive my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And what I tell people is that forgiveness is not for them. It's for you,
It's for you.
right? So that you're not carrying it around. And I remember, Val, someone saying to me, "Well, why would you want to, share, expose your mom's baggage?" And my
She's
response,
human. She's human. She was human.
yeah. But my response to that is, so why do you want to expose your mom baggage? I said, I'm not trying to expose her baggage. I can't keep carrying it.
Right.
Right. So it's really not about her. It's about me.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what was eye opening for me, and what I share with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
When you are in a healed state, you can see the same facts. The same facts are presented to you, and you see them with a different lens.
Right.
Right? Because my mom being 15, my mom having struggles with alcohol were things that I used to hate her for, Val. Okay, can I just be totally transparent here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in a healed state, I could see a young girl who was 15
And was struggling
and was struggling
emotionally
emotionally, and who also grew up in an abusive household,
herself. Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I saw a hurting young lady.
Yeah.
So my loss and my grief and my anger turned to compassion,
And love.
love,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the same evidence with the healed heart and healed lenses, I saw her differently.
Right.
And we have a good relationship today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, like you said, hurting people hurt people.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have did none of those things if she hadn't experienced those hurts herself.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening with a lot of people. They are hurt themselves. So why not go out and hurt somebody else? I'm
Right.
hurt. And that's
Right.
the feeling that they have. I mean, they don't realize that that's the feeling, but that's the ripple effect of their hurt.
Right.
And what people don't realize, when you have those type of hurts, they go across every area of our lives, and they affect every area of our lives if we don't deal with it. And that's why I tell people, listen, if you need to go get in a chair,
Please do.
go see somebody
Please
and
do.
sit in the chair and get some help,
Please do.
because there is help out there. I had to go sit in a chair.
And it's okay.
I had to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not ashamed of it. I came out a better person.
Right. Listen, your car, you will go get it tuned up. You will change spark plugs. You get your tires rotated, whatever that is. So you have to do the same thing with your physical body,
With your physical body.
your mental body.
Yeah.
So it's okay to go sit in that chair and get tuned up. And
Go
it's okay to even go once a year.
Listen. Go get in the chair.
Go
That's
get
all
in
I'm
the
saying.
chair.
Go get in the chair. Yes.
Because if
Yeah.
we were to fracture our leg, you would go get it set. You might have to get a cast put on it. They might have to put some rods in it, right, to realign the bone. So when it comes to matter of our minds, we have to do the same thing.
Yes.
And to know that it's okay.
Because if we don't, our mindset is stuck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it'll be stuck to the point where it won't grow in the areas that it needs to grow, because you're still thinking about those things that have hurt you or harmed you in the long run.
Right.
This person right here was saying how they had not dealt with the death of their mother, and it just kept moving. so that and she didn't think about it. So that was one person's comment up there. Pat Dyer was up there saying that. So Pat, thank you for coming in today. Pat and Patricia Brown. Hello, 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 everybody.
Hi,
and those that are coming in the replay.
Hey, Manisha. Glad to see you guys. Glad to see you guys. Yeah, Pat, you made a good point. So, one thing that we have been taught to do is to stay busy, right? So when we're grieving, we're taught to stay busy so that you don't feel. But what I tell my clients is that it's going to catch up with you one day.
Yeah.
That grief, because grief, again, it's a growth process.
Yes.
We don't want to go around it. We want to go through it because there's learning and there's beauty on the other side. And you know what? We were created to grieve, but we tend to stir, Val. So sometimes, again, we eat because we were taught to eat, right? Sometimes we might exercise excessively. Yep. Some people will drink, but some people, to Miss Pat's point, is Patricia Witherspoon, Pat, we stay busy.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a true thing right there. We don't want to think about those things that we've gone through or even talk about them, and sometimes want to hide it and don't want people to even know that you've gone through those things. Right. And I saw in your bio where you talked about a lot of time, oftentimes the church plays an important role in helping with coping with the loss as such, and that the church has to be equipped though with practical tools and godly wisdom when they're assisting those who are suffering with pain as a result of crisis or trauma or grief. And that is just so very true. So what advice would you give the viewers that know someone or feel themselves are going through that thing called grief, or going through depression or despair, or they know something's wrong? What advice would you like to leave the viewers with this evening?
Sure. So the griever needs three things. They need to be able to express how they feel, like put it into words. Mm-hmm. They need to be able to say it out loud, and they need to know that the words have been heard. Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure that we're listening in a non-judgmental way, right? That we're being hearts with ears. Yes. So, and be careful with what we say.
Yes.
Hi, Minister Ross. So I'm going to talk about do's and don'ts.
Okay.
So grievers often come to me and say, Lina, when you're doing seminars, when you're out here speaking, tell the people to stop saying that they know how I feel.
Right.
So we don't want to tell people that we know how they feel, because grief is individual and it's unique, right? So even if you have a similar loss to someone else, you do not know how they feel. You may be able to relate to how they feel. But you don't know. It can be even siblings, Val, and a parent might pass away. But guess what? Even the siblings are going to grieve differently because they had a different relationship with that parent.
Absolutely.
Right? So we're not going to tell people that we know how they feel. We're not going to tell people to get over it. We're not going to tell people that they're going to feel better in time, because time in and of itself does not heal us. It's what we do within that time, right? We're not going to tell a mother who's lost a child that they can have more, because guess what? They wanted that child.
Exactly.
Right? So we're not going to say that. So here are some recommendations to help us help others. If you know someone is grieving, here's what I want you to do. I want you to be a heart with ears. Mm-hmm. I want you to say, Val, I see that you're hurting. How can I help you? Do you need help picking the kids up? Can I stop and get some groceries? Do you need help cleaning your house? Is there phone calls that I can make for you? You also want to ask them, how are you coping? That will avoid the fine response, right? Instead of, how are you feeling? Oh my gosh, Val, I can't imagine going through whatever it is, y'all, okay? I can't imagine going through XYZ. How are you coping? because that will get the griever to express how
How
they
they
feel. Yes. And then I want you to listen attentively to what they're saying to you. Their hearts are broken. They're not broken. They don't need to be fixed. So as humans, we naturally want to fix them by saying something.
right.
But it's more powerful for you to sit there in silence than
And
to say some of those words that we said earlier and cause additional pain.
absolutely. I love it. Yes. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming up here and sharing that about that grief is not just about death.
No.
It has many names.
Yes. Yeah.
And we want people to recognize, some of the areas that you talked about, like it could be a spouse leaving you, breaking up, losing a friendship.
Your friendship.
It's
Your
simple.
health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so many names that you can put to that grief thing, and it had nothing to do with someone dying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have a lot of that going on. And I'm so glad we had this conversation because at least, hope that people will listen to this, and if they're having any of these issues that they will recognize that there is help out there for them. And I have your contact information if anyone wants to get in contact with Lina on the screen, and I will also have it posted. I will also post it in our other post too as well, Lina. So if they want to get in contact with you to talk with you further about this process, because a lot of people are going through this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially when COVID hit, right? I mean, I think all of our lives were kind of turned upside down. Some
Yes.
people did lose family members to death. Some
Yes.
people couldn't even attend their family members' funerals, right?
Can you just imagine? I can't even imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think one thing, Val, I know we're closing on out here, but you know, can't imagine not being able to go to my loved one's, funeral. People, I mean, that was real to some people. And then we see how the mental health care field, right, is just, man, they are
They
just
are still suffering from it though.
they are overwhelmed, right, with
Now.
people
Yes.
contacting. Sometimes we had to turn people away, and that's heartfelt. And people looked at that like a crisis, but I looked at that as a blessing because people were looking for help.
Right.
There was one time where people would not even seek help, but people are looking for help. I want to say one thing. We didn't talk about grief versus depression, but you can bring me back another time to talk
You're
about
gonna
that.
come back. You're coming back because
Right.
we're gonna do a part 2 on this.
What I
Yes.
want to say, guys, is I see a lot of times on social media and they show the faces of depression and they're showing people who are looking sad and looking down.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what depression looks like.
Right.
That's not what depression looks like. It could be somebody smiling,
Yeah.
every day
Yep.
and going through.
Yeah.
It could be somebody smiling every day, y'all, and
Yeah.
going through. So
Yeah.
make sure if you know that somebody's going through, again, just say, I know that you're hurting and you're going through. How can I help you?
How can I help you?
How can I help you? Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you for coming out here today and being with us. This was a blessing, and I hope that it blessed and helped someone else that was listening, or they will tell somebody to come by and view this the show so that they can get the information. Like I said, this is her information. Contact us at foreverhealed.com. And this is
Thank you.
Lina Lassiter. I love you, girl, and thank you
I
for
love
coming
you too.
out here with me today.
You're welcome. Keep empowering women. I love it. Thank you.
Listen, I got to do what I got. Look, we have to do what we have to do.
Yes.
Yes. All right. See you in a minute.
Bye.
Well, guys, this is the end of the show, and it was so great to come out here with you. And I just wanted to uh, remind you all of my new book that has come out called The Effects of Prayer in the Life of a Leader. And you can go to Amazon, you can go to Barnes and Nobles, you can go to Books A Million, and you can purchase that book. Go on and support that book, guys. And I will be looking forward to hearing from you guys once you get it, to let me know how it impacted your life as a leader. And another thing, guys, I tell you all every week to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. I ask you all that every week. And listen, I'm going to keep on asking you every week until y'all go do it. Y'all going to say, I'm so sick of her with going to YouTube and all of that stuff. Listen, I need y'all to go to YouTube and I need y'all to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you need a consultation with me, you can go to my website, www.talktimeval.com, and you can reach out and we can schedule a free 30-minute consultation if you need any help in any areas that we talk about here on the show, even any other areas that you might be lacking in or you need help in. We're here to empower and to help one another. And so if I could be of any service to anyone that has been watching and those that will come back in the replay, make sure you reach out. I'll be glad to meet with you to see what's going on so that we can map out a plan to help you further yourself in the kingdom of God. Amen. So that's all I have for you tonight. And I hope you all enjoyed the show. And guess what? Talk Time Val is going to holler at you a little later. So Talk Time Val is signing out, and I will be talking to you a little bit later.